Barbara Huffman, Business Law, Chapter 1. Nature of Law and Legal Rights. Law consists of a body of principles that govern conduct and that can be enforced in courts or by administrative agencies. The law could also be described as a collection or bundle of rights. Legal rights. A right is a legal capacity to require another person to perform or refrain from performing an act. Our rights flow from the U.S. Constitution, state constitutions, federal and state statutes, and ordinances at the local level. With these legal rights, we also have a duty, which is an obligation of the law to perform or refrain from performing an act. Our individual rights come directly from the U.S. Constitution. Freedom of speech and the right to due process are just two examples. We also have a duty to conduct ourselves in a way that doesn't harm others, like yelling fire in a crowded theater. The right to privacy has two parts. First, the right to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. For example, police cannot search your home unless they have reasonable suspicion, which is generally proven with means of a warrant. The second part of the right is the right to privacy, that it protects you as from individuals. Your private life is not subject to public scrutiny when you are a private citizen. Examples of a right of privacy are Arizona versus Grant case. Searches require warrants or a valid exception to the privacy provided under the Fourth Amendment. And another example is in the search of O.J. Simpson's Ford Bronco without a warrant. Educational privacy of grades unless consent is given. Banking privacy unless requested by law enforcement. Finally, there is privacy and technology. Most business practices happen via the web these days. Technology has changed the way we interact with each other and allows easier intrusion into another's privacy. The law has stepped in to provide privacy to those on the web to keep their communications secure. Now that we know a little bit about our rights, let's focus on laws, more accurately, sources of laws. Constitutional law are laws that are based on the Constitution. Next, we have statutory laws. These laws are made by Congress and state legislators. Administrative regulations are rules created by state and federal administrative agencies to monitor and regulate a number of business practices. Private laws are created by individuals and businesses on their own, but are usually contractual by nature, such as homeowners agreement. Then we have a case law, which is law expressed by court decisions. When a court decides a new question, it is called the precedent, which will stand as law in future cases on that particular problem. Brown versus the Board of Education would be a precedent that started the movement of equal rights for African Americans. Law also comes from treaties and executive orders which flow from the president. There are uniform state laws which regulate state-to-state business transactions, making interstate commerce easier and less expensive. Finally, let's look at the classifications of law. Substantive law creates, defines, and regulates rights and liabilities. This is the law that determines when a contract is formed. Procedural law specifies the steps that must be followed in enforcing those rights and liabilities. For example, your right to enforce the contract form from above, and the steps you take through the court system to recover your damages. For a breach of contract or procedural laws. Now we've come to the law most people would recognize, criminal law and civil law. Criminal law are wrongs against society. Civil law is the rights of a person, one person against another. Say you run a red light, you have committed a crime. If you were to hit a pedestrian while running a red light, you have committed a civil wrong. And that is the conclusion of Chapter 1.